My friend, there are moments when you can feel heaven leaning close. Moments when the invisible begins to move in your favor. October is not just another month on the calendar. This is a divine season for your breakthrough. The Spirit of God is whispering, "Prepare your heart, for I am about to do something new." You may have prayed before and felt nothing change. You may have fasted, cried, or waited in silence. But this month, your prayer is not falling to the ground. It is rising like incense before the throne of grace. When a believer prays with expectation, the atmosphere around them begins to shift. Mountains tremble, walls fall, doors open. You might not see it yet, but the power of your prayer has already been set in motion. Heaven is responding. The angels are carrying your requests into divine alignment. This prayer is not about asking for what you want. It's about agreeing with what God has already prepared for you. So before you pray, lift your heart, expect, believe, speak as one who already has victory. This October, your breakthrough is not a distant hope. It's a living reality waiting for your faith to release it. Prayer is not a ritual. It is a divine conversation where heaven and earth meet. When you pray, you are not just speaking into the air. You are releasing spiritual authority into motion. Every word of faith becomes a seed that heaven waters. The moment you believe, the process of your breakthrough begins. But prayer without expectation is like planting a seed and never expecting a harvest. You cannot sow faith and reap nothing. God responds not to need, but to belief. Expectation is the heartbeat of true prayer. When you come before God, do you come hoping something might happen or knowing something will? That's the difference between ordinary prayer and expectant prayer. Expectant prayer says, "Father, I don't see it yet, but I know you are already working. I don't feel it yet, but I know you are faithful. I don't understand how, but I know you will make a way." This kind of faith moves heaven. It transforms your words from empty repetition into creative power. When you pray with expectation, you're not begging God, you're agreeing with Him. You're saying, "Lord, you promised, and I believe." Expectation is not arrogance, it's alignment. It's standing on the promises that have already been written in His Word and saying, "This belongs to me." The woman with the issue of blood didn't just hope to be healed. She expected that if she could touch the hem of His garment, she would be made whole. Her expectation activated her miracle. Many people pray, but still live with anxiety and fear. They say words with their lips, but doubt in their hearts. That's not real prayer. It's worry disguised as devotion. Real prayer carries peace. When you truly expect God to act, your heart rests, even before the answer comes. Expectation shifts your focus from your problem to His power, from your pain to His promise, from your waiting to His working. Think of Elijah on Mount Carmel. Before the rain came, he saw nothing in the sky, only clouds of dust. Yet he said, "I hear the sound of abundance of rain." That's expectation. He prayed until what he heard in his spirit appeared in the sky. And when the servant came back the seventh time saying, "I see a cloud as small as a man's hand," Elijah knew it's enough. Expectation doesn't wait for visible proof. It trusts the invisible process. When you pray with expectation, even your atmosphere changes. The same room that once felt heavy becomes a sanctuary. The same situation that once brought despair becomes a stage for God's glory. Expectation releases joy before the miracle arrives. It gives you strength to keep praying when others give up. It allows you to worship while waiting because you already know the outcome. Sometimes God delays not to deny you, but to deepen your expectation. He's preparing your heart to handle what you've prayed for. He's aligning people, places, and timing in ways you can't see. So don't give up just because it hasn't happened yet. The moment you prayed, heaven heard you. The angel was dispatched. The miracle began its journey toward you. Keep expecting, keep believing, keep declaring. You must also understand, expectant prayer is not passive. It doesn't sit in silence waiting for something magical to occur. It acts in faith. If you're praying for provision, act like the door is already open. If you're praying for healing, speak life to your body. If you're praying for restoration, release forgiveness. Faith without works is dead, and expectation without action is empty. When your faith begins to move, heaven begins to move with you. In this season, God is looking for believers who will pray not with fear, but with fire. When you expect, you make room for miracles. Your words start shaping your reality. Your spirit becomes a magnet for divine favor. October is not a month for small prayers. It's a month to pray bold, believe big, and expect greater. What you speak with conviction today, you will see with clarity tomorrow. So lift your voice and pray like it's already done. Speak to the mountains and tell them to move. Thank God before the blessing arrives. Worship Him for what you cannot yet see. That's the language of faith, the sound that heaven recognizes. Expectation turns delay into preparation, trials into testimonies, and impossibilities into invitations for God to show His glory. The power of expectant prayer lies in this simple truth. When you believe that God is faithful, you will never leave prayer empty-handed. Every moment spent in His presence becomes a divine transaction where faith becomes sight. So this October, don't just pray, expect. Don't just ask, believe. Don't just hope, receive. Because the God who promised is still the God who performs. There is a mystery in the life of every person who walks closely with God. It is not only in their words, their discipline, or their knowledge. It is in the atmosphere they carry. Wherever they go, peace follows. Hope rises. Healing flows. That is the secret of spiritual atmosphere. You can feel it when someone has spent time with God. Their presence speaks louder than their words. Their eyes carry peace. Their tone carries authority. That's not personality, it's presence. Every miracle, every revival, every divine encounter begins in the right atmosphere. God does not move in chaos or confusion. He moves in faith, purity, and unity. The spiritual atmosphere around you determines how much of God's power can flow through your life. If your environment is filled with fear, doubt, or negativity, even great prayers can feel powerless. But when your atmosphere is filled with worship, gratitude, and faith, heaven feels at home. You cannot create miracles, but you can create the atmosphere where miracles are born. Just as a seed cannot grow on hard soil, faith cannot flourish in a heart filled with bitterness and unbelief. God works best in an atmosphere where He is honored, where hearts are open, and where faith is alive. That's why Jesus often sent doubters out of the room before healing someone. He understood that atmosphere matters. He knew that one negative word, one whisper of unbelief, could hinder what heaven was about to do. If you want to see breakthrough in your home, start with your atmosphere. Fill your space with prayer, not complaint. Speak life, not discouragement. Play worship instead of worry. Your words are spiritual instruments. They either attract heaven or invite heaviness. Every time you open your mouth, you are shaping the air around you. Make your words a place where God can dwell. Many people pray for change, but continue to live in the same negative environment. They ask for joy while listening to voices that drain it. They seek peace while feeding their minds with chaos. But if you want a different outcome, you must create a different atmosphere. Faith is not only a confession, it's a condition of your environment. Your surroundings should reflect the promises you believe in. The Spirit of God loves to move in places where He is welcomed. When your heart is filled with praise, you create that welcome. Praise is not just music, it is the oxygen of heaven. When you praise, you make the invisible presence of God tangible. Darkness cannot stay in a room filled with worship. Fear cannot breathe in an atmosphere of thanksgiving. When your mouth blesses God, your mind begins to change. Your emotions align and your faith awakens. Even in moments of deep struggle, you can protect your spiritual atmosphere. You may not control the storm outside, but you can command peace inside. You may not silence every critic or problem, but you can decide what voice rules your heart. The atmosphere you carry inside is more powerful than the situation around you. That's why Paul and Silas could sing hymns in a prison cell, because their atmosphere was not confined by walls. While others saw darkness, they created light through worship. And when heaven heard their song, the foundations of the prison shook and doors opened. This is the power of atmosphere. It releases divine activity. When your home, your heart, your thoughts are filled with God's word, the supernatural begins to flow naturally. Healing can happen while you pray softly. Breakthroughs can come quietly because the atmosphere is ready. Sometimes the miracle doesn't come from a loud prayer. It comes from a quiet heart, saturated with faith. You can sense the difference when you walk into a place of prayer. There is warmth, calm, and assurance. That's not emotion, it's spiritual climate. Just as you adjust the temperature in a room, you can adjust your spiritual temperature. Turn off the noise of fear and switch on the sound of faith. Replace complaint with gratitude gratitude. Replace anxiety with adoration. When your inner world is aligned with heaven, peace becomes your atmosphere. And remember, the enemy also knows the power of atmosphere. He tries to contaminate it with distraction, discouragement, and division. He knows that if he can steal your peace, he can weaken your faith. So guard your atmosphere as you would guard a precious treasure. Don't let anyone or anything bring heaviness into your spirit. Protect your space of worship, your moments of silence, your time in prayer. These are holy grounds where God's presence dwells. When you cultivate the right spiritual atmosphere, miracles cease to be rare. They become a rhythm. You begin to live aware of God, not just on Sundays, but in every breath. You start feeling His peace in ordinary tasks and His strength in daily struggles. You no longer chase signs and wonders. They begin to follow you because your life has become an altar. So today, make a decision. No matter what is happening around you, I will create an atmosphere for God's presence. I will fill my heart with worship, my home with faith, and my words with life. Because when heaven finds a welcoming atmosphere, it releases blessings that no darkness can resist. Every promise God gives carries within it the seed of manifestation. Yet before that promise becomes visible in your life, it must travel through seasons of faith, waiting, and alignment. The manifestation of your breakthrough is not sudden. It is spiritual preparation, meeting divine timing. What appears overnight in the natural has often been forming for years in the unseen. When you pray, God begins to move instantly. The very moment your faith reaches heaven, heaven responds. But manifestation, the visible proof of what you've believed for, requires more than prayer. It requires endurance. There is a difference between the moment you believe and the moment you receive. Faith bridges that distance. That's why the scripture says, through faith and patience we inherit the promises. You can't rush divine timing, but you can prepare for divine release. Many give up right before the manifestation comes. They stop praying, stop believing, stop speaking life because they can't see anything happening. But breakthrough is not about what you see, it's about what you know. Just as a seed germinates in silence before pushing through the soil, your miracle begins in the dark before shining in the light. Heaven is never still. Even when you feel forgotten, God is aligning every piece of your story to reveal His glory through you. The manifestation of a breakthrough often begins quietly. You might feel a shift in your heart before you see it in your circumstances. Peace will come first, then provision. Strength will return before success appears. The evidence begins within before it unfolds around you. That's how God works. He transforms the invisible before He blesses the visible. He changes your mindset, renews your spirit, and restores your faith so that when the breakthrough arrives, you are ready to carry it with maturity and gratitude. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, the manifestation of their breakthrough didn't look like deliverance. It looked like a dead end. Yet that obstacle was the stage God used to reveal His power. He didn't remove the sea, He split it. He didn't send a bridge. He created a way no one had seen before. That's how divine manifestation operates. It defies logic so that only God can receive the glory. When your situation looks impossible, it's not a sign that God has abandoned you. It's a sign that He's about to manifest His might in a way that human hands could never arrange. But there is another layer to manifestation. It is not only about receiving your blessing, it's about becoming what you've believed. God doesn't just want to give you victory. He wants to make you victorious. He's not just sending you provision. He's shaping you into a vessel that can handle abundance without pride, peace without complacency, and power without corruption. Many want the miracle, but few prepare for the responsibility that comes with it. The manifestation of the breakthrough is as much about who you are becoming as it is about what you are receiving. Sometimes, before the breakthrough manifests, God will test your faith through silence. He will seem quiet, not because He is absent, but because He is watching to see if your faith can stand without visible encouragement. That silence is sacred. It refines you. It separates shallow belief from anchored conviction. Those who endure that silence will soon hear the sound of breakthrough. When the manifestation begins, it comes suddenly. After all the waiting, all the tears, all the nights of confusion. It arrives like morning light breaking through a long night. Doors that were sealed open effortlessly. Opportunities appear where there were none. Relationships are restored, health returns, and dreams awaken. Yet even then, the mature believer does not boast but bows, because they know the power was never in their effort, but in their expectancy. The manifestation of breakthrough is also contagious. When others see what God has done in your life, faith begins to rise in them. Your testimony becomes a prophecy for those still waiting. That is why God blesses openly what was built in secret, so that your life becomes a living altar, drawing others to the same faith that sustained you. But remember, manifestation is not the end. It's the continuation of God's work in your life. Once the breakthrough arrives, stay anchored in the same prayer that birthed it. Many lose their blessing because they abandon the presence that produced it. The same atmosphere of faith that brought you your miracle is what will sustain it. Keep worshiping, keep believing, keep giving glory. If you are in a waiting season right now, don't be discouraged. The silence is not the end. It's the space before the sound. The process is not punishment, it's preparation. You are closer than you think. God has not forgotten a single prayer you prayed or a single tear you shed. In fact, every moment of delay has been working for your advantage, creating depth in your spirit and power in your faith. When the breakthrough manifests, you will understand why it took time. You'll see how the pain shaped your compassion, how the waiting taught you wisdom, how the loss prepared you for greater gain. What felt like delay was divine strategy. And when it happens, it will be undeniable, so clear, so powerful, that you will say, only God could have done this. So keep standing, keep trusting, keep thanking Him in advance. Don't stop praying just because you haven't seen results. Pray because you know He's faithful. The manifestation is already in motion. Heaven is aligning everything you need. Your name is already written on the blessing that's coming. Beloved, as we come to the end of this message, remember this. Your October is not just another month. It is a divine appointment. Heaven has circled this time on your life's calendar. The breakthroughs you've been praying for, the peace you've been craving, the answers you've been waiting on, they are already on their way. What God has begun in your spirit, He will manifest in your reality. But before the blessing appears in your hands, it must first take root in your heart. That is why this moment matters. Don't let this just be another prayer or another word you listen to and forget. Let it sink deep. Let faith rise again. Let your atmosphere change. Because everything you've heard, the power of expectant prayer, the secret of spiritual atmosphere, the manifestation of breakthrough, these are not theories. They are divine laws that unlock the supernatural. God is not waiting for perfect people. He's waiting for believing hearts. He's waiting for you to speak life again, to worship again, to stand again, even after disappointment. He is waiting for you to pray, not with fear, but with expectation. When you speak in faith, heaven leans in. When you create a spiritual atmosphere filled with worship, angels begin to move. And when you refuse to give up, even in silence, manifestation begins its journey toward you. So lift your hands wherever you are. Whisper from your heart, Lord, I believe this is my month. I believe that this October will not pass me by. I believe that you are working in ways I cannot see. I align my words, my atmosphere, and my faith with your promise. Heaven responds to that kind of prayer. You may not feel it instantly, but something begins to shift. The peace of God starts to fill the air. The fire of the Spirit rekindles your hope. The chains of doubt fall quietly, and the winds of breakthrough begin to blow. This is your moment of agreement with heaven. Expect your miracle. Protect your atmosphere. Prepare for manifestation. Every prayer you've prayed, every tear you've cried, every time you stood in faith when it made no sense, none of it was wasted. God was listening. God was watching. God was preparing you. So as this month unfolds, walk with confidence. Wake up every morning declaring, this is my season of breakthrough. This is my month of answered prayer. This is my time of manifestation. Speak it until your spirit believes it and your reality begins to mirror it. Heaven is ready. The door is open. The blessing is near. You are standing on the threshold of a new beginning. Step into it with bold faith, unwavering gratitude, and a heart full of expectation.